This is Jocko Podcast number 266 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
And joining us again tonight is Dave Burke. Good deal, Dave Burke. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening.
So, we've knocked out 2 chapters of Marine Corps Doctrinal Publication 1, TAC 4, which is called Competing. And today we're going to delve into the 3rd chapter. Now, we have had expectations in each one of these of doing more than one chapter. I don't think we're going to make it, especially because 3 has a lot of good stuff in it and 4 is longer. So I don't want to get halfway through 4. Anyways, so we're going to delve into chapter 3. And before we kind of kick that off, in the last chapter and throughout the book thus far, the Marines have been calling competition or describing competition as an enduring conditioning, an enduring condition. It's enduring. It's always happening. Always. And then when we got done, I think it was with the 1st chapter, and we did an underground podcast, and I talked about that clip from There Will Be Blood. I have a competition in me. I want no one else to succeed. And I kind of talked about this fact that I related to that, and that I can be really competitive in a lot of ways. And since competition is an enduring condition, that must mean that I'm always competing with everyone all the time. And if I'm always in competition, well, then when do I get a break? When do I sleep? Well, we're not sleeping a lot, obviously. But how am I not getting burnt out? I'm always competing. How am I not getting burnt out? And I was thinking about that because I start to think about people hearing this, and I like to think through how people are going to interpret what I'm saying. And Dave, you and I say this a lot with just the title of the first book, Extreme Ownership, and people think extreme ownership, well, that would just mean we need to be extreme about stuff. And we have to write a whole nother book. I had to write a whole nother book with Leif called The Dichotomy of Leadership, saying, no, actually, you got to be balanced. We don't want to be extreme. So when I think about talking, and I'm sitting here saying I'm competing all the time, and we're competing, and everything is a competition, and I think of someone going, okay, well, we're going hard all the time, and then they're going to get burnt out. And how is it that I'm not getting burnt out? Am I superhuman? No. I'm just another person. So how is it that I'm competing all the time, which I can tell you honestly, I am competing all the time. And I'm also telling you I'm not superhuman. How is this happening? I can explain it. The kind of people that get burnt out and fall apart, the reason that happens is because they are competing at a tactical level. That's what's going on. They are getting caught up in bar brawls and street fights and duels and arguments, and they want to win every altercation they see occurring anywhere around them. And their ego won't let them rest. And I'm not doing that. I don't care about the bar brawl or the street fight or the argument. I don't care about those things. Don't care about them. I'm in competition, but I'm not in competition at a tactical level. I'm competing strategically. At least I'm trying to, right? I'm not perfect. I'm trying to compete strategically. Do you sometimes have to win tactical battles? Do you have a battle, a tactical battle that you have to win? Some people will come to me with that argument. There's some battles that you have to win. You know what? You're right. And you know what they call those battles? They call them strategic battles. That's not a tactical battle anymore. If I'm in a strategic battle, I'm going to win that. And the point of saying this is, as we talk about competition, and you hear Dave and me and Echo getting all fired up about competition and competing all the time, and I keep saying you're always in competition and everything's a competition. As we talk about that, don't get wrapped around tactical competition. think strategic. Think strategic all the time. And you should get in some tactical scraps sometimes so you don't lose your edge. I'm going to go ahead and say that. You want to get a little scrap? We're going to get a little sparring session going? Let's do it. But I'll tell you what, I'm not going to waste any resources. I'm definitely not going to take any significant damage. Look, I might get a little dinged up. It's okay. But I'm not going to waste resources, real resources. And here's another thing. If you're competing against me, I will have you in tactical fights all day long. I will put tactical things out there to distract you and fight you. And I put some minimum amount of resources against your whole deal and make you think you're achieving this big victory, and you're not. I will be watching you take damage. I'll be watching you waste resources. I'll be watching you expend leadership capital while I'm putting money in the bank. I'm putting money in the bank, and I'm going to win. I am going to win. So don't mistake that as we talk through this manual. Don't mistake tactical competition for strategic competition. And we have been saying you are competing, and you should remember that you are competing, and you are competing all the time, but you should be competing strategically. And with that, we can go into the book. What do you got, Dave?
Bro, I'm just over here taking notes. And I'm just trying to write down because I'm taking this home and thinking about it. You could probably say that again. A tactical battle that you need to win isn't a tactical battle. Just thinking of it in those terms, like if you have to win that battle, meaning it's necessary, by definition, that's not tactical. Mm-hmm. It's a strategic thing because if it didn't matter, then it's not strategic.
Isn't that crazy?
And if it doesn't matter, then who cares? The concept of a tactical battle you need to win isn't tactical, and that even on the leadership side, when people ask the question, "Hey, where do I hold the line? Where do I have to apply resources or expend capital?" And the idea that even in reverse, like, hey, if it has to be achieved, this is not a tactical thing. This is a strategic thing. And understanding that, again, that's just some of that's just for me to think about because.
And then you ask yourself, or you see a client, or you see a human being treating something as if it's a strategic battle, and they don't think through it.
Yeah,
they don't see that. I mean, really, what's the deal? What happens? What's the worst case scenario if you lose that battle? Well, they're gonna get the whatever thing they've rationalized inside their head, which is dragging them to expend resources, to expend leadership capital to make someone do something because they're going to look bad.
Yeah.
Which is just insanity. It's total insanity. There's almost nothing that I need to make one of my subordinates do. I can barely think of anything that I need to make one of my subordinates do. You know what I need to make one of my subordinates do? I need to make sure that all my subordinates knew how to program their radios before they went out on an operation in Ramadi, because if they got stuck without a radio, not knowing how to program it, they would die. So on that's you know why I always use that example? Because it's like one of the few that I can possibly think of.
Yeah.
It's one of the few that I can possibly think of where I was like, yeah, you know what? You have to do this. Now, here's why, and it's not like I had to have a big discussion. All I said was, hey, guys, if you can't program your radio and you get separated, you're going to die. Therefore, you're not going out. Did anyone say, well, actually, I don't think it's that big of a risk? No, everyone went, yeah, roger that. There was no discussion about it. It wasn't like an argument. It was, hey, guys, I should have done a better job explaining how easy it is to get separated in an urban environment. And if you get separated in this environment, the people that will be coming to get you, they won't be us. They'll be an Army unit or a Marine Corps unit, and you'll need to know how to put those frequencies into your radio by yourself. Otherwise, you'll be out there alone, and you'll get captured, and you'll have your head cut off. And it takes, by the way, 15 minutes to learn how to program a radio. Let's get it done. And everyone goes, yeah, roger that. But there's not too many things that require that And like I said, even that didn't require that didn't even cost me leadership capital. It didn't. It actually that move actually didn't cost me leadership capital. Instead, people are like, yeah, man, I would venture to guess that my leadership capital went up a little bit because guys are thinking, I didn't really think of that. I didn't really think of that. And by the way, this guy cares about me because he doesn't want me to be stuck in the middle of Ramadi without being able to communicate. The reason this guy wants me to do this is because he cares about me. It has nothing to do with my personal gain. Zero. What do I get out of it? Nothing. Well, I guess I'm taking care of my guys. But again, what is that? I'm taking care of my guys. The discrimination between tactical and strategic is a huge area for growth for us as human beings. And I think, Echo, this has been your constant theme since we started the podcast. Of the biggest lesson that you learned was long-term versus short-term, which is the civilian way of saying strategic, long-term, tactical, short-term, and the difference between those two.
Yes, sir.
And the more you figured that out, the better your life got.
Yep, just like that, too.
How old were you when we started this podcast?
38, maybe?
38.
38. Yeah.
There's people that are listening to this podcast right now that are thinking, I'm 32, man. I already went. No, it's already too late. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. It doesn't matter. And I mean, I get messages from people that are 58. Yeah. And they say, I'm starting to look at this long term and I'm going to make these adjustments and here's what I'm going to do. It's never too late.
No.
It's never too late to start thinking strategic.
What's the expression about jiu-jitsu? Like, when's the best time to plant a tree or start jiu-jitsu?
Best time to plant a tree? Either 28 years ago.
Right.
Or today.
Now, yeah. Same deal, man. Same exact same deal.
Yep. Check. All right. Chapter 3. It's a short chapter, but there's a lot in it. Chapter 3 is called Preparing for Competition. So you know how that's going to sound. The most important task for Marines and the Marine Corps is to recognize that we are always competing. Even choosing to do nothing is a competitive decision. It just happens to be one that surrenders the initiative to our competitors. Yes. When you choose to do nothing, you are surrendering the initiative to your competitor. Now, I got to throw a caveat in there that there are some times where tactical patience, which is the cool way of saying waiting, is a good thing. There's absolutely times where you want to give things a second to develop. We used to say that to young SEALs if they were making calls too fast. Hey, let it develop a little bit. You don't even know what's really happening. You've heard 4 gunshots and you're trying to make a decision on which way to go. No, let's wait till we hear some volume of fire from the enemy, so we actually have a more relevant and real idea as to where they are. But I think the number is 7 out of 10 times, maybe 8 out of 10 times. Action is better than inaction. So that's why the Marine Corps says bias for action. That's why Echelon Front says default aggressive. It's better to make a move. 8 out of 10 times, 9 out of 10 times, it's better to make a move. Yeah. And if you have an open mind and you're going to read a feedback loop, it almost becomes 10 out of 10. And if you're going to do iterative decision making, meaning I'm going to make a small move really quickly, then it becomes 100%. I'm going to make a really quick move. I'm going to then read the feedback loop and see what I've got. And if you can do that, which is what I do, that's how I cheated. That's how I cheat in decision making. I don't make a big decision. Why would I make a big decision? I make a little one. Make a little tiny decision.
Yeah, it does. Kind of the more you think about it, the more it becomes like a 10 out of 10. Especially when you think of it in those terms where, default aggressive, not meaning you're going all out full speed one direction every single time. It's not that. It's like you got to be, because it's kind of comes from a mindset, right? Where obviously default aggressive does. But if taking action versus not taking action, if you just reduce it just to the mindset, like then you can kind of understand like, to not take action is, with very few, if any exceptions, the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, especially when you